Hi, I'm Diane Hullett. Welcome to the Best Life, Best Death podcast. Today I'm talking with two gentlemen from Titan Casket, Scott Ginsberg, the CEO and founder, and his colleague Joshua Siegel, co-founder and COO. His wife Liz is also a co-founder of Titan Caskets. And this business took advantage of a 1980s rule called the funeral rule, which is the right to purchase a casket from a third party. Listen in to find out how Titan Casket developed and what they have to say about changes in the funeral industry to come. So, hi, Josh. Hi, Scott.
Hi, Diane.
Hi, Diane.
Nice
Good
to meet
morning.
you.
Good morning. I'm really excited about this. When I first heard about Titan Casket, I was like, wait a minute, this is a big kind of shift in the whole industry. And so I got very curious, reached out, and today I'm sitting here with the founder and co-founder of Titan Caskets. So tell the story of how Titan got its beginning.
Sure. In 2016, well, let me first take a step back. I've been in the casket industry for over 20 years, from manufacturing, sales, and distribution. And in 2016, I founded Titan Casket, and we are right now we sell on TitanCasket.com, Amazon, Costco, Sam's Club, Walmart. And as I was starting, I said to myself, there's got to be a better way, because when you go to the funeral home has the same 6 caskets or 8 caskets they've had for over 20 years. And this industry hasn't changed in over 100 years. It's slow, it's lumbering, it's resistant to change. They've always done the same thing. And when you look at the casket selection, they sell at a very, very high price. And it's a broken experience. Who really wants to go to a funeral home in the first place? You'd rather sit at your own home and at the comfort of your own home and just sit and relax. So when you think about today, there are 2 large manufacturers that control the supply of caskets in the US, and they only sell to licensed funeral home. And most customers buy their caskets from the same funeral home, and they don't shop. Think about it. You'll shop a wedding, you'll shop a car, but you don't shop a funeral. And prices can vary dramatically between funeral homes because directors understand that consumers don't shop. And as a result, both the casket manufacturer and the funeral home each enjoy a 200 to 400% markup.
Wow. And part of that has got to be just what's happening in the experience. Like, most people don't do this ahead of time. So you're shopping for a casket because someone has just died and you're in crisis. You don't have time to shop. So it's partly that trajectory is what makes this happen. But so you said, wait a minute, here's a huge markup and here's an opportunity.
Yeah, but what really makes this really interesting, the FTC passed what's called the funeral rule back in 1984 that gives you, the consumer, the right, it's the law, to purchase your own funeral products and have it sent to the funeral home of your choice. It's the law. They have to accept it. They cannot say no. So when you come to our website at TitanCasket.com, we have 1,000 different models, and you can mix and match and choose whatever you'd like. And we have warehouses all throughout the country, and we can get it there in a timely fashion within a couple days anywhere. So if you want something unique, something different to honor your loved one, that you can't get at a funeral home because they only have the 5 or 6 different styles that they offer, with us, you can do that. If you want something like a red casket or a yellow, or just something that you feel would best honor your loved one, that's what we're here for. So we feel here at Titan Casket, we don't want our consumers to take an emotional loss and turn it into a financial loss. That's our goal, to help educate, hold their hand, walk them through the funeral process. We won't tell them what to do, but we'll tell them what to expect, what to anticipate, so they can make a much more informed decision, because that information really translates into savings.
Right. So Scott, you were in the casket funeral business for a long time. And
Yes.
then this law was kind of this obscure law that said that consumers could go ahead and get their own casket, but
That's correct.
Nobody saw that loophole as a business opportunity until the two of you started talking. Was it a quick Did you spend years developing this, or was it more of a quick decision?
Well, I've always known about the law, and I've been fortunate in my life, that I've been in this industry for a long time, and I've looked at a lot of the broken experiences that people go through. And when they go to purchase anything through a funeral home, it's just not the best experience. So as the internet has evolved and people are more accustomed to making complex purchases online today from the comfort of their home, it's just really a natural fit. Why you can go buy a wedding online, or you can go buy a car online. Why not a funeral or a casket?
Well, and a similar thing has happened with urns. I know it used
I
to be
know.
to think, well, I'm going to get an urn from the funeral home, but wow, what is available online in terms of a resting spot for cremated remains is just through the roof right now. You could spend a lot of time shopping for an urn, whether it's on Amazon or like Stardust Memorials or many, many other places.
Sure. And
Josh, go ahead.
no, our goal really is to drive affordability and transparency in the funeral products when it comes to funeral products. That's our goal essentially.
Sure. Joshua, how did you come on board? How did you get involved in this?
So when Scott first started Titan, he started it on Amazon. He put caskets on Amazon, and he was looking for help. And I was there. I worked at Amazon for a decade. Had seen the rise of some of the companies Scott mentioned, also Warby Parker and Casper. And so he found me. We'd both gone to the same grad school. He found me through the alumni network. And as he described the structure of the industry, how broken things were, I immediately thought this was an interesting both business opportunity as well as a way to help, millions of families. And so we recruited my wife, who's our third founder, and the three of us together sort of concepted it out and launched our website in 2020 and did all the things you would do to build a brand like we have.
So interesting. I mean, this is like the direct to consumer market, right? That's what you'd call this kind of business model where you say, wait, why do we have the middleman on some level? Because consumers are now more used to looking at all their options online and then picking. But who would have thought a casket? So if I order a casket and I've identified the funeral home, how quickly do you get it there? What does it cost to ship? Like, these things are heavy. This
Yeah.
is not a lightweight proposition.
Absolutely.
We try to keep it really simple. And you mentioned D2C, but that's where we started. Consumers buy from us, but also we work with the doula community. We work with some funeral homes that are more progressive. And for anyone who orders a casket, it ships the next day for free. And so
Wow.
you come to the site, the price is the price. We have wholesale rates for funeral professionals. So if you are, please call us. And it ships the next day. The reason we have so many warehouses, like Scott mentioned, is it has to be there fast. So for most major metropolitan areas, it'll be there in 1 to 2 days. But every order, we talk to the client, make sure we cannot be late. So we make sure we have the date, we have all the details, it gets there on time.
Amazing. That's so interesting. Are consumers pleased?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you look at our reviews, people call us and say thank you. They didn't realize they had this option, and the thousands that they saved, they're just amazed. They're floored by it.
It's what we're most proud of. We have 900 reviews. We have testimonials. We have video testimonials. Families just send them to us because, you are working with them during what's the most meaningful week of their lives. And when you can help them either save money or all the other things that Scott mentioned around education and just be a trusted voice for them, it's where we focus all our effort.
That's amazing. And I know you had this fascinating marketing opportunity appear with a Taylor Swift video recently. Tell us about that. Some listeners probably aren't familiar with that at all, but maybe everybody's heard of Taylor Swift, famous pop star.
Yeah, so Taylor Swift, right, most famous and successful artist right now. The album broke every record. We woke up on October 21st. The day after we actually were presenting in front of the Federal Trade Commission about funeral rights. So we were already having an exciting week. And Taylor Swift released her new album. The first video and best-selling song is Anti-Hero. And there was a 2-minute skit in the video where she is literally hiding in our Orion series copper and comes out and they're all sort of hugging the casket. So not only was our product in the video, but it's front and center with her in it. Wow. And so what happened over the next week was her fans picked up on all the products that are in there. It went viral on social media. We got tons of press coverage. It was a really exciting week because it, obviously brought attention to our company here, but also funeral rites and the funeral rule and everything we stand for.
So amazing. Does it say Titan on the side or no?
Well, I mean, you can't see it from where that position. All our caskets see it on the end of the casket, but from the video, what you see, no, you can't see it, unfortunately.
But the way
But
that things get linked these days, like you said, the fans picked up on it, figured out where it was, and then they were like, wait a second.
it's unbelievable. It's a crazy situation.
What are the statistics on burial versus cremation? Do either of you know? I mean, burial is still fairly predominant, or is cremation now the predominant form?
Cremation is predominant and rising, so it's more than half of all funerals are cremations these days. But some cremation, still require a casket as part of the funeral process. And our goal is to meet our clients wherever they are. So for customers who are going through a burial, we sell caskets. We also have a small and growing urn selection that should be much more expansive over time. We have eco caskets, and so really we encourage both our clients and families to call us, because if you don't see it on our site, it's likely we've thought about it and plan on adding it shortly.
And also too, cremation is really also state specific also. So some states will have a higher cremation rate than others too, parts of the country.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, you've been in the industry a long time, Scott, so you've really seen like this. I mean, there've been a lot of changes, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
what do you see happening currently that's different and changing in the funeral industry?
I think what we're doing, I think, when you look at the industry as a whole, there are 20,000 funeral homes throughout the country, and they're still doing the same thing they've done 100 years ago. So I think as the internet is more prevalent, as a company like us is looking to disrupt the market, I see a lot of things like what we're doing going to be online in the future, migrating that way.
Yeah, it was interesting to see how COVID moved. There's a whole thing now of online memorial services. I mean, you can really plug into that. That became far more developed rather than just a few families on Zoom trying to make that work. Now there really are full-on led funerals with online professionals helping guide that. It's so interesting. Both I think the funeral industry was already headed for changes, and then the pandemic really pushed it.
Yeah, I think the fundamental shift we see, and Scott alluded to it earlier, is that it used to be you walk into a building and you plan the event within the constraints of that building. And families today want to plan it from their kitchen table and in a way that's really personalized to their loved one. And that means different venues. It means different custom music. It means different caskets. It means, you really have to think about planning an event, just like weddings have transitioned and other major life events. And so, we today offer personalized caskets and a casket that can be planned differently, but you see it across every part of funeral planning. Companies trying to come in, and doulas, frankly, are core to that, and already are perfectly positioned to work with families in that manner.
Say more about that. How do you see doulas playing in? Because obviously a lot of my listeners are doulas or end of life workers or hospice workers. Yeah.
I think historically, the funeral director is the voice and where families are educated on what a goodbye looks like. And then everyone else is an alternative, which a family needs to be aware they have that alternative before they enter the process, before they're sitting there planning a funeral. And so somebody who has the flexibility or is able to educate families on choice, like what a doula does. Obviously, it's much more expensive than just the funeral planning. They're just well positioned to let that family know they don't have to do it in a cookie cutter way, and they take a step back. They have a much broader set of options to plan from.
Yeah, I love that. I think that set of options is the big thing I'm seeing change for people.
That's the key. That because everyone has their own way how they want to honor their loved one. And when you walk into that funeral home, you only have that 5 or 6 options. And that might not be the way you want to go. You want that selection, you want that variety. And that's what we try to help.
Yeah, it's neat. I guess I see this somehow. My own extended family got creative some years back. So I remember when my mother-in-law was planning my father-in-law's funeral, she said, well, this seems crazy, but I think I want, he loved classical piano music, but he also loved country music. And you can't really put those together, can you? And I was like, well, yeah, I think you can, because that really represented him. So she found a classical pianist to play at the opening, like a student from the university came and played this gorgeous, gorgeous music as people came in. But then in the middle of the ceremony, there were country music songs played, and it felt so perfectly him. And so, that was 10, 15 years ago now. So, but that seemed really normal to me, that there would be this blending of what was original, unique to the person. So I love that the whole kind of industry is moving that direction. I think families feel more invested in this kind of ritual that feels more personal with some of these touches.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Well, I love it. What else would you say about your own personal experiences, if there's anything you'd add about how you've come into this work?
I mean, for me, from a personal perspective, I just like to help people. It gets me out of bed every day. At the end of the day, we're helping every single person save money, especially during these inflationary times, and just holding their hand in however they want to honor their loved one. That's, I mean, really gratifying.
Yeah, that's true of everyone we've brought into the company. You have to have really special people in this industry that are working with families every day. And as much as we get into logistics and Taylor Swift and all the things that come with building a company, we all sit at our desks or on our phones every day and watch reviews come in, watch our team talk about the families we're working with. And that's where, it's a very hard business. We're taking on some very large public companies. But that's what motivates us every day is we just gotta, it's just so rewarding to work with families and see what you can do.
Amazing.
Fortunate.
Go ahead. Oh,
Yeah, we're very fortunate.
I can imagine there've probably also have there been any kind of humorous incidences? I can imagine, Casket showing up the wrong place or.
Yeah, I think the definition of humor probably varies. I would say, there's certainly been consumers who have bought caskets for their homes and sort of sent us pictures of how they've decorated them. There's been certainly cases where, I think in the moment it's not always so funny, because if like we get the wrong size from a funeral director, or they give us the wrong address, or do things that are maybe trying to pull that customer back in, it's I'm more impressed with our team and how we react and make sure we're still taking care of that family.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, we've spent a long time. I mean, we've been in business for many years now. We spent a long time really perfecting our process to make sure we're anticipating those type of problems, so everything goes smoothly. Our whole job is to reduce stress for the family.
Right, absolutely. Speaking of reducing stress, what are you seeing in terms of pre-planning? Like you said, sometimes people pre-order. I know one person I knew said, "Oh, I have a casket as my coffee table currently," and I thought, well, okay, I kind of love that. Just bring it in and be with it. So, is there pre-planning, or do you mostly see week of purchases?
As of today, or as of this week, we have launched a pre-planning service for caskets where you can lock in today's price, you can lock in your choice, you can make sure that financial burden's taken off of your loved ones. And so that is a brand new service that we've launched today, where the funds are trusted and it's very secure. Historically, we do have customers that have bought and store in their garages or storage sheds, but it's rare just because it's big item. But we know that many more customers come to our site who are thinking ahead and trying to get their affairs in order than actually have an at need purchase. So we expect that to be a growing part of our business. And we're actually, speaking of humor or other ways to raise awareness, we're running a Black Friday sale where it's $50 off of a pre-plan, mostly because, for us, any excuse to raise awareness and get people talking about planning ahead is, we're going to try it, because we know how beneficial it is.
And that's basically our number one thing, just to create awareness out there. That's our goal right now.
I mean, really, honestly, that's my number one interest too. I just find it fascinating that we have this enormous transition of death that we all are moving towards, and so little conversation about it. And I don't know, when you talk about it, it just reduces fear, it increases knowledge, it increases, intimacy among family members, even though it's hard and scary and intense. It's like, well, is it less hard, less scary, less intense if you don't talk about it? I don't know. I don't think so. So this is really an interesting one. If you're grappling with a casket choice, Titan Casket is really offering a new alternative that I think is going to change the industry. And I can imagine you've made people pretty mad.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
we had up a little bit.
We had one of our employees at NFDA this year, and he was shooed away from many booths once they saw his tag. But we also work with, there's a wide range of funeral professionals, and we work with funeral homes too, who are all about giving their families choice and are at reasonable prices. And so, we're not intentionally trying to make anyone mad, but we're here to fight for our families and consumer rights and improvements to the funeral rule. And sometimes that feels uncomfortable.
It's a disruptor. It's a disruptor. Yeah, but I do think you have family's best interests in mind. And that's what I was thinking too. You probably are also creating partnerships, because I do think funeral homes are having to say, what's the new landscape? How do I adapt? And if they can partner with you in some ways, that just seems like win-win.
Yeah, the progressive funeral homes look to us. Are we competition to some degree? Certainly. But at the end of the day, they view us as another alternative, another tool for the toolbox, how they can serve their client, because they know they don't have everything that they can offer. But with us, they can offer that, and they have more options now.
Wow. Well, with thousands of happy customers and a Taylor Swift video, what's next?
And so, we have a long way to go in our product business. Our caskets, there's lots more families to help.
Yeah.
And so more warehouses, more awareness, more marketing. We're going to expand it to new products. I mentioned urns. It's still a very small selection for us, but we are making inroads there with, your standard urns as well as very artisanal urns. And then we'll continue to help families with planning. We launched pre-planning today, where we get to talk to families in advance about the casket. But you can imagine there's other things they may want to be planning for at that time. And so we're going to look at other funeral services as we round the corner to 2023.
Terrific. Scott,
Great.
anything you want to add?
No, I mean, Josh really hit on it. I mean, we all as a team feel that what we're doing is great, helping people there for the families, and going forward, we're excited what tomorrow's going to bring.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate you both so much. I always love talking to people about, sort of what's new, what's cutting edge, what's changing. There's a couple of authors that have written really interesting books about the history of the funeral industry, and then kind of what's happening now, because I do think there's a bit of an acceleration in maybe the last 10 years that changes are happening to an industry that was pretty stable for a long, long time. Well, fantastic. Thank you both for joining me. You can find out more about what they do at Titan Casket, singular, titancasket.com. Tell us about the name. How did you pick Titan?
Well, that's interesting. I was thinking of something strong, and Titan was just, it's short, it's strong, and I loved it. I just, truthfully, I kicked it around the kitchen table with my family too.
Well, that's the way the best names come, right? You kind of kick it around, write it on a legal pad, look at it a few different ways, and then find out if you can get the domain name. And you did. Fantastic. Well, thanks again. You can find out more about the work I do at bestlifebestdeath.com. And thanks to Titan Casket for joining me today.
Diane, thanks for having us.
So let's just chat for a minute in a little bonus moment. Gosh, what else have you kicked around while you're sitting at the kitchen table? Are there other things that came up besides the name?
Just how to do it. It just, a lot of logistics aspects of it. And the first foray into this that Josh mentioned it was Amazon. That was for me the entry point, and seeing how it would work. I put one up, then two, then three, it started to work. And just started to think, this could be something. This could be the beginning of something.
So in a way, you started small. You literally just put a few caskets up on Amazon. Wow.
Yes.
And was
That
it
was-
called Titan at that point?
It was called Titan. That's correct. Yes. And it
Nice.
was a challenge. It was interesting and exciting at the same time. And I would look over to my wife. I said, Steph, oh my God, this is really something. And that was just,
You're like, we might really do this.
yeah.
And then did Josh come on at that point?
Yeah, I reached out to Josh at Amazon and flew out, met with him, and I told him my idea, what I'm thinking about. And over lunch, over a napkin, essentially.
I'll have it on my wall, like the
Right here, we still have it.
scribbled.
It's like, and here's the business plan. Go.
Yeah,
You
Yeah.
said you both went to the same business school. Where did you go?
Columbia.
Mhm.
We're about 10 years apart. Yeah, it's been a wild ride. I mean, the missing voice here is I mentioned Liz, who's downstairs right now with our 3 kids and also running our customer service team. We also have a casket sitting downstairs in our dining room, where we take little videos and and help explain the ins and outs to customers. So I think there's 2 families involved, the Ginsberg and the Siegels, and it's very much a family business, even though we're at opposite ends of the country.
How do your kids take to that? I know my kids are pretty funny. I have 2 teenagers, and they're older teens now, but they're like, yeah, Mom, whenever I don't know what, whenever someone says like, well, what do your parents do for work? They're like, well, my mom's a death doula and an educator, an end-of-life educator. People are always, they're either very curious and intrigued, or they're kind of like, oh, wow, huh? What do you say after that? So I can imagine yours are a bit the same.
It's totally normal to them now. We had a little pod here during COVID, and there were urns everywhere. As the Taylor Swift stuff happened, we were in the local paper a little bit, and we asked our 6th grader, how's it going to school? And she was like, well, I'm not really trying to be the Casket kid at school, so I'd rather be known as like a responsible, good student. So I'm not talking about it too much, but certainly her teachers have seen it and bring it up, and
Yeah.
she knows it's a different type of profession.
Yeah.
And my kids growing up, when they were younger, when you go to school, what's your dad do? And my kids would say, oh, my dad makes beds. Because they were young, 3, 4 years. They used to come to the factory, make pillows. And so for them, they were young, looked like a bed. So
Look at that. Dad's a bed maker. I love it. I love it. That's kind of, that is a bit of a thing to go to school and be like the undertaker's daughter, or the funeral guy's son. It's a bit, could be a bit weighty, but I think that's part of the whole kind of weighty problem of death being so held at arm's length, right? It's just, I love that you've got one downstairs. I'm picturing your kids climbing in it, Josh.
No, it's off limits. But yeah, it won't be here forever, but it's temporarily taking up space.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thanks again, both of you. I just really appreciate it. I think disruptors are really interesting, and that the powers that be usually do not like the disruption, but I think there's something to be said for the disruption, because that's how we get things improved and better services for consumers. And I guess, it's capitalism at work, but I like to think it's not capitalism run amok. It's capitalism in the best sense.
If we wake up every day trying to do the right things for families, I think that's our North Star. And so it's hard to go wrong if that's our mission. So that's what we look at.
definitely.
Super. Well, I thank you both so much for being on with me today, and we'll put this up and see what people think. I can't wait to send people to your website.
Well, thanks for having us.
Call us too. We answer the phones.
Yeah, definitely.